everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Bebe Means Business Show. This is the show where you get all your tips, your advice, your education and information on anything and everything to do with business. We also bring you industry experts and experienced entrepreneurs who share their advice and wisdom with you to help you on your business journey and become financially free. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'm your host, Bebe Clement, and I run a group of successful companies. I'm also the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, which you can get on Amazon, or you can get from my website, www.bbclement.com. But the details of that book should be on your screen, on the bottom hand corner of your screen. Now, many of you have been asking me, how do we connect with you outside of your program? And I appreciate that question, and I want to connect with you as well, because there's a lot that I'd like to share with you that I can't always share within the remits of this program. So if you'd like to connect with me, these are the contact details. If you want to connect on Twitter, my Twitter handle is @BebeClement. That's @BebeClement, BebeClement. You can also connect with me on Instagram, and the address is Bebe_Clement, or you can just look for me under my name on LinkedIn and we can hook up that way. I also, of course, have a website, www.bbclement.com. So if you go to my website, there's lots of interesting information on there as well, not just to do with the program, but all kinds of other things that will help you in your business journey and indeed in your life's journey, not just business. Okay, so last week I was on holiday. So due to popular demand, we decided to run one of our earlier programs, and that was on how to raise finance for your business. And I hope you got the information regarding that. Hope you tuned into that and you enjoyed it. So that's what we did last week. And thank you again for the feedback regarding that. I think we're going to do some more shows on finance, because finance seems to be an issue for a lot of our listeners. So I'm going to look for some more industry experts in that area that can help you with that. Okay. Also, if you want some to hook up on some of the last programs or past programs, then by all means, if you go to Star Radio UK, the YouTube channel, and Bebe Clement YouTube channel, you will also get the podcasts for past shows. So today, just to let you know, we're back to normal, and this is a live show, and it's interactive, and I want to hear your views on anything that we discuss, and indeed try and answer any questions that you may have. I understand that questions have already started coming in today, so I'll be answering those after our break at 2 o'clock. So just for those of you who don't know the contact details, if you want to get involved in the program, the contact details are Star Radio @Star Radio UK. That's a Twitter handle, or you can text or WhatsApp on 07539 661 744. That number again is 07539 661 744. Or you can email us at info@Star Radio UK, or join us via Facebook @Star Radio UK. So every so often I like to do a chilled, laid-back program, because man, life is becoming so hectic and almost so overwhelming. People are just dropping like flies. I mean, it's not even 2 o'clock yet, and I've already had information about somebody who passed away today. And so sometimes even in the entrepreneurial space, there can be just too much information. So to ensure that you don't get overwhelmed with information, I think I'd just like to have a laid back program today that you can just take in some tips. But having said that, don't underestimate them, because tips are very, very valuable, and they're like nuggets. There's gold inside. So by all means, please take notes, those of you who do that, because there'll be quite a few things that I will say that will help you on your journey. So today I just want to welcome you to our show, and it's success tips for your business. Success tips for your business. And I'd like to go through the whole spectrum of the whole entrepreneurial experience. So from the time that you start to think about, should I go into business, should I not go into business, right up until the very end, I'd like to give some nuggets and some tips to do with the whole of the journey. So let's go. Ready? Steady? Here we go. So the first thing is, so let's say you've been thinking about it for a while. You've come to the decision that I've gotten just about as much as I can get out of my job. I don't like my job anyway. My boss doesn't like me. I don't like my colleagues. Yes, now is the time for me to go into business. And you've made that decision. But you find that even though you've made that decision, you are still hesitating. So let's look at some of the reasons why people hesitate. And hopefully I will be able to say something that will help you get over your hesitation and actually take the plunge. So sometimes people have a skills or knowledge gap. They want to go into an industry, but they realize that actually they don't know that much about it. So it might be, let's say you want to go into the property industry, but you discover that this is your first time. You really don't know that much about it. You own your own home, but you really don't know how much about it in relation to doing it as a business. So you have a skills gap. Now, once you've identified your skills gap, the next thing is to go plug that gap. Whatever it is you need to do. If it means, for some, it will mean you will have to go back to university and actually perhaps get a degree in the area that you want to go into. And don't be deterred by that. I mean, I hear people say, "Baby, man, that's just not happening. I'm in my 40s now. There is no way I'm going to go back and get a 3-year degree. That's going to take me another 3 years. By the time I finish, I'm going to be 43. No, I don't think that's worth my doing." So whenever people give me those kind of arguments, my question is always this: if you don't go back to university and plug that knowledge gap, in 3 years' time, how old are you going to be? You're still going to be 43. So let's say you're 40 now. You're still going to be 43 in 3 years' time, minus a degree, still with that skills and knowledge gap, and still stuck in that crap job that you hate. So you might as well pay the price. This is all part of your journey. Might as well pay the price to fill that skills gap and go back to uni. For some of us, it won't have to be that dramatic. It might just be you need to get a mentor that you can shadow and can teach you all that you need to know. It might be one of those crash courses on property, quite expensive weekend crash courses on property that you need to go on. But wherever you identify the skills gap, don't hesitate to fill it. It might be you need to be self-taught. I mean, that's what I did. Because this whole concept of economics and finance and all that, it's not me. I come from a legal background. But when I was going to go into this, when I had a clear belief that this is what I was supposed to go into, I spent a whole lot of money on books and educating myself. I went on lots and lots of seminars, listened to lots of people, all those kind of things, to educate myself and get the information so that I could pass it on, because I knew that's what I was going to be doing henceforth. So whatever you need to do to fill your gap, your skills gap, or your knowledge gap, then make sure that you do it. Another area, of course, is finance. Lots of people have identified that, yes, I would go into business, but for the finance. And my view is this, that as important as finance is, that hedge can be jumped over. I would strongly encourage you, where possible, to use other people's money to go into business. In other words, look for investors. And people say, well, I don't know any investors. Let me tell you, if you have a very good idea, investors will come knocking on your door. So if you if you get your idea together, you have a good business plan, because of course investors want to make money, so they're not going to just invest their money in a shoddy business idea. They need to be able to see it on paper. They need to see the possibilities and the potential of it on paper. They need to be able to analyze it. It's not good enough for you to say, oh, well, I have this good idea in my head. That's not going to work. But if you have a good idea and you've put it down on paper and you have a good business plan, that is something you can pitch to investors. And if you indeed need help with that, please, by all means, get in touch. I do have a group of investors, myself included, who are looking to invest their money in good business projects. So don't let that be a deterrent. And as we have spoken on this program before, there are other ways in which you can raise money. You can go through family and friends. You'll be surprised the number of your family and friends that have money sitting in the bank, gathering dust, doing nothing. And that money could be working for them. It could be working for them. And if you are listening and you have access to that kind of finance and you're wondering what you can do with it, there are people with business ideas that you can invest in and make that money work for you. I think banks are wonderful for safekeeping of our money, but that's about as far as they go. When it comes to growing your money, they're of no use whatsoever. I don't know if you checked the last interest rate on your money, but for most people it is even less than 1%. I know mine has gone down even further. I got a letter a couple of days ago saying it's going to go down even further, as if it could go down even further. So take your money out of places where it is just sitting there and it is not productive, and put it to work. Put it to work. So another thing that deters people is the whole marketing thing. And can I say to you that marketing is very, very important. Business is one thing. Marketing is a completely different concept. There is no point in you having this glossy brochure that you've spent thousands of pounds on doing, and it is gathering dust on your filing cabinet. You must be able to market yourself. And marketing is a science that you have to learn if you're going to go into business. And I would encourage you to if you can afford it, get a marketing manager or a marketing consultant to help you. Even if you can't keep them on or as an employee, have somebody that you can hire intermittently that can assist you with your marketing, because there is no point in having a good product or a good service that nobody knows about. There's no point to that. So you do need marketing. But I do think that fear is the biggest, singularly the biggest hindrance to people going into business. What if I fail? What if I lose money? What if it doesn't happen? And my response to that would be, but what if it does? What if it does? What is the worst that can happen, ladies and gentlemen? What is the worst that can happen? You lose money. Money can be regained. Most millionaires have gone bankrupt at least once. So that's, have a measured amount of risk. There is no business that you will do that doesn't have some amount of risk. And now I understand, of course, if you're 24 and you're single and you have very few financial responsibilities, I understand that your level of risk is definitely going to be a lot higher than somebody who is like in their mid-50s, got 2 kids at university and has a mortgage to pay. I get that. But the important thing is to measure your risk. What is your level of risk? What will be comfortable by way of a risk level for you? And then get over the fear. Get over it so you can go into business. Okay? All right. So those are for those of you who are just starting out. Those are the kind of things that you need to consider when you're starting out. So here's tip number 2. Tip number 2 is, this is not the time to go into a business that needs hundreds and thousands of pounds by way of investment. This is not the time. What you need to do is look for new and emerging industries with low startup costs. Now, in 2015, I was reading an article by a think tank called Wall Street 24/7. And they did an article on what they considered at the time to be dying industries. And these dying industries included print media, DVD and video rental. Now, it seems strange now because these predictions have come to pass, but at that time, it didn't seem possible. because we have things like Blockbuster and all the like, it didn't seem possible that such industries would become a dying industry. But they have become some. So if you are going into business, you need to make sure that you research the area that you want to go into and make sure that it's viable and it has longevity. No point in going into an industry that the world is not going to need in 2 years' time, after you spend all your time and your money and your energy in going into that industry and setting up a business, and then in 2 years' time it becomes obsolete. So make sure that you do your research and make sure that the industry that you want to go into is viable. I remember just about 3 years ago, a friend of mine came to me and very, very excitedly told me that he was about to start a business magazine. And in as much as I was happy for him, I knew that this was not the time for a business magazine, because print media, again, is pretty much on its way out. People, not only are people reading less and less, sadly, not only are people reading less and less, but they no longer want to read long articles. Social media and everything has really affected our reading habits. They want sound bites, they want bullet points, they want things like that. So having a magazine with 50 articles in it, now's not the time. It really isn't the time. So make sure you do your market research properly before you go into the industry. Okay, I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to take a little bit of a break. The next one is look for the industry that you go into. Still talking about emerging industries. The industry that you go into, I would look for emerging industries where that are shrouded in mystery, there's a lot of misinformation or ignorance or misconception about that industry, because investors love those kind of industries. They love industries that are shrouded in mystery, because what the appeal for them is that they can get in there and make their money and get out before anybody realizes what the industry is about or what's happening, or finds their feet in the industry. They've gone in there, they've done it, and they've exited. And those kind of industries are brilliant for you, particularly as an entrepreneur, because you are able to position yourself as an expert in that industry because nobody else knows anything about it. I'll give you an example. When the whole GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulations, were about to come out, the build-up towards them, nobody knew how this was going to play out. Nobody understood it, because up until that time we just had data protection regulations, and even that there was, it was itty-bitty all over the place. The legislation itself was itty-bitty, but this was a major overhaul. This was a Europe-wide overhaul of the whole data protection area. Not only was it Europe-wide, but it affected those outside Europe who were going to do business within Europe or had European partners. This was unprecedented. And the potential fines, the financial repercussions of getting it wrong were phenomenal. So companies were scared, organizations were scared. They were desperate to become GDPR compliant, and nobody understood the legislation. They didn't know how it was going to work. Everybody was finding their feet. They didn't know what they needed to do to become compliant. And so those of us, and thankfully I was in the industry at the time as an employment lawyer, that I was in the industry at the time, and I had an advantage. And so those of us who were in the industry, we were able to capitalize on that. And I remember doing a whole lot of seminars, and we made a whole lot of money from that, because companies were lining up to get the information and understand and make sure that they were compliant, because they didn't want to fall foul of the legislation. So that's an industry, that's an area where we were able to go in, use our expertise real quick, make a lot of money, and exit. I mean, now you hardly even hear about GDPR. It was much ado about nothing, really. I'm not saying it wasn't an important piece of legislation, it was, but it was hyperbolic, really, in comparison to the how it has played out in reality now that the legislation is now in place. So yes, these are the kind of things that you need to be looking at. Look at emerging industries that are shrouded in mystery, that nobody understands and nobody knows anything about. Okay, all right, I'm going to take a quick break here. Just because I need to wet my whistle. I've got a bit of a croaky voice at the moment. So do what you need to do and join me back here after the break. Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the BB Means Business Show. And for those of you who are just joining us today, it's a very chilled show, very chilled show, very laid back. And I'm just giving tips for business success for your business. But as like I said earlier, don't underestimate it, because business tips are like nuggets. You can get things that you can just grab things that revolutionize your business and your business practices, and they can make all the difference between success and failure in your business. So just before the break, we looked at some of the areas that you should go into if you're thinking about going into business, and I talked about going into new and emerging industries with low startup costs. That's what you need to be looking at, low startup costs. This is not the time for a business idea that needs 100,000 to get it off the ground. This is not the time for that. But thankfully, there are industries that you can look at that don't cost that much. And the advice I gave was to ensure, where possible, that you're using somebody else's money for business. Okay, so I'd like to have a look at the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule. Now, the 80-20 rule is not just exclusive to business. It applies to other areas of life. But let's look at it in relation to business. Now, the 80-20 rule dictates that 80% of your business will come from 20% of your clients. I'm going to say that again because it's quite important. 80% of your business will come from 20% of your clients. Now, there's a paradox here, and you need to get this. Let me save you quite a bit of time. There's a paradox here, because you will find that the 80% of your clients that are not monetarily viable, or are the least, you make the least money from, are the ones who are the most demanding. They are the ones who moan the most. They're the ones who want your attention all the time. They are the ones who want over and above customer service. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have good customer service. That should be as a rule. But what I am saying is, I don't want you to fall into the trap of believing that if I give in to this client's demands and I'm at this client's beck and call all the time, and I go the extra mile for this client all the time, that will increase their patronage, because you will find that that's not the case. What you need to do as an entrepreneur is sit down and look at your client list and analyze as quickly as possible which are the 20% of my client list that bring in the dough. Which are the ones that pay me the money? And I'm talking about the ones who pay you on time. You don't have to chase the invoice all the time. They're the ones that, they get to the point as soon as possible. They don't take up too much of your time, that kind of thing. Those are the ones you need to identify. Now, your job as an entrepreneur, if you want to be successful, is rather than do a one-off for them, and you must come away from that mentality. Come away from the mentality of let me just get this person's business and just do this job for them. That is not the mentality of somebody who's going to last long in business. The hit and run type of business, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You need to be looking at how can I increase the remit of the services that I offer this client. That's what you need to be looking to do. So I think I gave this example a little while ago. One of our companies is an HR consultancy, and we support companies that can't afford, big city employment lawyers or that kind of thing. So what we do is they either outsource their HR to our company, or we support their HR managers or their HR directors on an ad hoc basis or a retainer basis. So I remember a little while ago, one of our clients had a problem with staff. There was some personality issues between a couple of their staff that was beginning to infect the rest of the staff force, such that, you know, staff was beginning to take sides, and it was affecting the work environment. It was becoming quite toxic, and they didn't know what to do. So they came to us for some advice, and they asked if we did mediation. Now, at the time, mediation was not one of the services that we offered, although one of our staff members was a mediator. So we were able to offer them that service. So when we first of all met them, mediation wasn't something that we offered them because it wasn't part of our, you know, the remit that we thought that our clients would need. But after that client wanted it, we then went back to our other clients and said, we've introduced an exciting new service, mediation. If you'd like that, then let us know. And a number of our clients did. So that's what you need to be looking at how you can expand the remit of the services or the products that you offer your clients. That's what you need to be doing. So like I said, the 80-20 rule means that 80% of your business will be coming from 20% of your clients. And this is important because I was reading an article by, I think, eMarketer, and they were saying that it costs, by way of energy, time, and money, anything between 4 to 10 times more expensive to recruit one new client than it is to retain a satisfied client and just expand the services that you offer them. So that's really important. If you want to cut down on your marketing bill, you want to save yourself some time, you want to save yourself some energy, then it might be a good idea for you to be looking at the 80-20 rule and how it applies to your business. Now, another tip is establishing how much are you worth. How much are you worth? Now, oftentimes, particularly for those of us who offer professional services, oftentimes we don't know how to pitch the prices or the fees for the services that we offer. So I'd like to just give you some guidelines as to what determines the prices or the fees that you offer your services for. Now, you get paid for three things in the marketplace, three main things in the marketplace. So these are quite important, so make sure that you get these down. You get paid in accordance with what you do. Okay? So let's say you are a lawyer. So you get paid because you are a lawyer. All right? As opposed to, let's say you're a dustbin man. You get paid because you are a lawyer, because this is quite specialized. Okay. 2, you get paid for the value that you add. Now, that's important because the fact that you are doing the same thing as your next door neighbor or your next door neighbor business colleague is doing does not mean that you are adding the same value, even if you're offering the same service. I'll come back to that. And the third thing is you get paid for how difficult is it to replace you. How difficult is it to replace you? And for those of you who are employees, that concept is the same. Believe me, the fact that you have the same job description or same job title as the person sitting next to you at work does not mean you are getting paid the same amount. I can assure you. I work behind the scenes with directors and all that. I can assure you there are people with the same job title sitting around the desk, and they're all getting paid different amounts. They're on different salaries, and there's a reason for that. And I'll go back to the whole value and how difficult it is to replace you. So let's say, for example, I'm a speaker, as you well know, and increasingly I'm being asked by companies, particularly during this COVID thing, to come in and speak to their workforce, speak to their staff. So a lot of companies are finding that their staff are finding it difficult to adjust to home working, or their staff they've lost loved ones, or they've had COVID, or just the way life is going generally. They are demotivated, deflated, and demoralized. And so they asked me to come in to motivate their workforce, to help them revisit their vision, that kind of thing. So let's say they say to me, Bibi, would you come in and speak to our sales team? And I say yes, and they say, okay, so how much is that going to cost us? And I say, that will cost you, I don't know, for a day, that will cost you anything between £7,500 to £10,000, depending on your workforce and a number of other issues. And they say, okay, that's fine. And then I say, okay, wait a minute. Aside from that, I also host a business show. And that business show is a weekly show. And we have so many thousand people who listen in every week on that business show. Now I'm more attractive to them. I remember I was talking about the value that you add and how difficult it is to replace you. So obviously, if I'm doing a business show, that means that everybody that listens into this show is either thinking about business, or they're already in business, or they want to do business with other people. They want to collaborate, or do partnerships with other people. That is why they're here. Anybody that's listening to this show, that is why they're here. If you're interested in something like fashion or something like that, that's not specifically business oriented, then you're not going to be on this show. But everybody on this show is already geared towards business and entrepreneurship. So that makes me attractive to somebody who's going to hire me. Because then I can say to them, aside from me coming to speak to your sales force, I can get you on the show. I can have one of your directors on the show, and they can talk about your products and your services. Or if you want to promote, some of your services on my show, then it makes me more attractive. They're thinking, okay, if we do that, that's going to diminish our marketing bill, because that means they don't have to spend time going to look for the client or recruiting the client. The clientele is already here. I already have a target audience sitting here waiting to hear from them. So it makes me more attractive. So then I say to them, aside from that, I'm also the president, which I am. I'm also the president of a networking group called Black Businesses UK. Black Businesses UK. And for those of you who are listening, if you want to go and look at that on Facebook, you will find us, Black Businesses UK. There are over 3,000 members. So when I say that to them, okay, so she has a radio show and she's the president of a networking group. Okay, 3,000 people. They're already salivating. And then I'd say to them, and I also have a community list. I have a list or a database, this number of thousands of people. Not only is that database within the UK, but that database includes people from other parts of the world. I have members of that database in America. I have quite a growing group of people in America, but I also have a huge membership in Africa. So again, we're going through Brexit. People are looking for for new markets, as opposed to just Europe. They're looking further afield now. They want to get into Africa because mere population alone. I mean, if you have a product that you can sell in Nigeria, we have about 180 million people. Even if it is 20 million people that you are able to reach with your product and service, you know how much that is. So can you see now? So I can say to them, yes, I can come and do the talk that will cost £10,000, but I'm looking for something a bit more holistic. I'm looking for something that's ongoing. I'm looking for a wider reach. So I'd like us to put together a bigger package. So in fact, the coming to speak to the sales team now becomes secondary, because I can offer them a whole different world. I'm a door to a whole different world to them. That makes you more valuable, as opposed to, I'm a speaker, let me come and speak for one day. That makes you more valuable. So can you see that the value that you add and how difficult it is to replace you? So as opposed to somebody else who can just come and speak, not everybody who speaks knows how to motivate a sales team or motivate a staff team. So again, that gives me a bit of an edge over other people. So what you need to do is look at the value that you bring. What is the extra that you are bringing that makes you more attractive in the marketplace? That is how you determine where to pitch your fees or your prices. And let me tell you, let me myth bust for you. There is nothing like a product or a service that is too expensive. Nothing like that. Hold that thought. I'm going to take a break here. Hold that thought. When I come back, I'll tell you what I mean. See you in a minute. Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and for those of you who are just joining us, thank you so much for taking the time. You are tuned into the Bebe Means Business Show, and today I'm giving success tips for your business. Now, just before the break, I was talking about the 3 reasons in which you get paid in the marketplace. You get paid because of the type of work that you do, you get paid for the value that you add, and you get paid for how difficult it is to replace you. And I was speaking about the value that I could add if I go and speak somewhere to a company. Let's say a corporation asks me to come and speak. The different things that I add to the services that I offer that make me more attractive than the average speaker. Okay, so I was saying that there's nothing like my product is too expensive. So don't be scared. Don't be scared to increase your fees accordingly. Once you've done this exercise of establishing your value in the marketplace, it will be easier. You will find it easier to get over the mental block of being able to raise your fees. And I just want to give you a quick example. Now, you could go shopping and buy a really decent handbag in somewhere like Primark. You could buy a nice handbag in Primark. But there are people who are buying Hermes Birkin bags. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen an Hermes Birkin bag, but I would encourage you to go and Google it. It will blow your mind. I was looking at it today, just before I came on the show, and I saw a Birkin bag for £48,000, and you got to wonder, really? But Birkin has a waiting list of anything between 18 months to 3 years for their bags. And their bags, I think the cheapest Birkin bag I've ever seen was probably about £3,500, going up to about £48,000. So there is nothing like a product that was too expensive. You can imagine paying £25,000 for a bag and you have to wait a year and a half to even get it. But they say that their bags are individually made, they're handmade, they're customized to the particular client. These are the kind of things, again, these are the value added that they're putting. That, these are hand stitched, they're customized, they're tailored to what you want, that kind of thing. These are the things that they're adding that add value. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to up your prices. So let's have a look at, before I go on to competitors, I was going to speak about competitors, but I have some questions here, so I want to quickly address those questions. This is from Tolu. It says, "Dear Bebe, wonderful program as always." Oh, thank you so much, Tolu. You say a lot about collaboration. Unfortunately, I don't see much of collaboration within the African business space. True. Why is this, and what must we do to develop a collaborative agenda? Secondly, for me personally, what should I be looking for when searching for a collaborative partner? Okay, sadly, you're right. You're right that we don't do a lot of collaboration in the Black community, to our detriment, really to our detriment, because what you find is that everybody is doing their own little thing. There's nothing that you're doing that is not being done in the Black community by way of entrepreneurship, I can assure you. But everybody is doing it in their own little corner of the world, and they're doing it to death. And I mean literally to death. We are struggling on our own. What we need to do is begin to come together. I'm not going to stop beating this drum until I see this as a movement. You need to be looking for people who can help you get to where you need to go, and you can help them get to where they need to go. So again, it is beginning to happen. So for instance, we had a lady on the program a couple of weeks ago, Bimbo Sagie, and she has a property investment group now, whereby people can contribute money, and they all buy property together. So let's say you want to go into the property market, rather than thinking, oh my God, I'm going to need at least 150, 200,000 to buy a property, which I don't have. So that's the end of that story. She has gone and looked for people who have, okay, do you have 10,000? You've got 10,000, great. Do you have 15,000? You've got 15,000. And they all contribute. And then she sources the properties, and they all buy, and they share the profit in accordance to the contribution that they made. So these are the kind of things that you need to be doing. I was on a radio show a couple of weeks ago, hosted by a gentleman called Wale Shokoya. His show is called Circulate, and I was a guest on that show, and I was talking about business in the Black community, and I was talking about the power of us coming together and pooling our resources together and approaching some of these companies that provide that are like financial institutions or provide services like electricity, gas, that kind of thing. That if we have a group of people come together and we begin to approach these companies and say, okay, we can offer you 10,000 people who have a mortgage on their property, and we will instruct our people to switch their mortgages to you as a mortgage provider, but we're not paying more than whatever rate of interest. That's it. Do you want it or you don't? That if we begin to do things like that, if we begin to pool our resources together and become a force, an economic force as a people, then these companies will begin to take notice, because they know that the Black pound is worth something. We are spending, I think we're worth about 30 billion now, they said. So that's not to be sniffed at. So yes, we do need to collaborate. And I would encourage you, those of you who are listening, who are in positions of power, such as like pastors, or you lead networking groups or business groups or everything, begin to think like that. How can we collaborate? And thankfully, Wale Shokoya has set up a group now where he's trying to get 10,000 Black entrepreneurs or Black service users to add their name to it, so that he can begin to approach the financial powers that be and get good deals for the Black community in the UK. So that organization is called Circulate. If you go and look online and on Facebook, you'll find it, and you get all the information on that. So if you're looking to collaborate with people, what you need to be looking for is look for a group of people who are reputable, affordable, and reliable. I'm going to say those three things again: reputable, affordable, and reliable. And the example I always give is, if for instance you are a caterer, look for people who you have the same kind of client pool. So if you're a caterer, the kind of people that you have the same kind of client pool they include people like photographers, video guys, event managers, cake makers, those kind of people, exhibition stands, those kind of people. You need to find a group of them who are reputable, reliable, and affordable, that you can approach and say, okay guys, we're going to work together. From now on, here's what's going to happen. When I go and pitch to a client, I'm not just going to say to the client, I'm a caterer. I'm going to tell the client, I'm a caterer, but I can also help you with your photographer. I can help you with your video guy. We can set up the hall for you. We can provide the balloons for you, and we can, make the wedding cake. I'm a one-stop shop for everything to do with your event. And then say to them, for every client I give you or every piece of business that I pass your way, I'm taking 20%. Now they're happy, because it means they now have access to people they would never have had access to but for you. And in any event, you're not doing anything over and above anything that you would normally have done. You're just pitching to the same client. And you then look more attractive to that client, because your client hasn't got time to be looking around for caterers or looking around they don't have time for that. So if you can provide everything, and this is where I said it's important that those people that you collaborate with are reputable and reliable, so that they don't mess up your name. Once you've got that going on, it's a money spinner. It's a money spinner. Can I say something quite important? One of the reasons why we are having problems collaborating within the Black community is because we don't trust each other. We don't trust each other. And I need to emphasize that not everybody is a fraudster. I know we have generally quite a bad reputation, But not everybody is a fraudster. Not everybody is going to take the money and run. Not everybody does shabby service. That's not true. There are people who have integrity, many people within the black business community who have integrity, whose word is their bond, who give excellent service, and who you can work with. And again, if you have problems with identifying such people, please let me know. I know quite a few people, and there's hardly any industry that I don't know those kind of people in, that I can pass your way. But more importantly, it is important that you as a business person ensure that you are a person that can be trusted. You are a person that has integrity. You are a person whose word is their bond, and you are a person that if I pass you business and you tell me the business is going to be ready on Wednesday, I'm not chasing you on Friday evening and you've turned off your phone. So that's what we need to do to address these issues. So Tolu, thank you very much for that question. I hope that answered that question for you. The next question is from Dio, and he says, how can I find a mentor, and what difference can a mentor make to the success of my business? Ooh! A mentor can make or break you. Nobody knows it all. Nobody knows it all. And oftentimes we don't know what we don't know until you have a mentor. I have a series of mentors in different areas. I'm about to take on another one because I want to go into take the property development market a bit more seriously. I know someone who's very successful in that area, so I'm going to go sit at his feet. A mentor is vital to your business progress. It really is. I think most importantly for me, a mentor holds you to account. And you need that, because you know, if you're somebody who is lazy, or you're somebody who tends to procrastinate, or even if you don't have those kind of bad habits, if you're somebody who's forever working on your business, working in your business as opposed to on your business, you can get bogged down with just the unnecessary day-to-day stuff. I mean, somebody was telling me just before I came on the show that the admin of her business alone is just taking all her time. She doesn't have enough time to strategize. But when you have a mentor, your mentor can help you see the wood for the trees. He can help you see past just being busy. He can show you the bits that you're just being busy about, but are not actually necessary. He can show you who to deal with and who not to deal with. You can run business ideas by them. Something might sound fantastic to you, but by the time your mentor has ripped it apart, you'll be thinking, oh my God, thank God I didn't go down that route. Mentors are vital to business success. They really are. So you need to find them. And don't shy away from paying for them, because at the end of the day, they're using their time. I run a mentoring program. I only take 5 people a year because mentoring is quite intense. I take on 5 people a year that I mentor for 6 months. And again, it is a progress. It can make the difference between success and failure in business. So yes, by all means, please get a mentor, Dio. The last question I'm going to take on says, dear Bebe, your advice has been invaluable to us. Thank you. And we believe that others should be given the opportunity to listen to your program, but the schedule makes it difficult for some of us to listen to the program. We'd be grateful if you would consider repeating the program later in the day or week for those who could not catch the earlier program. Okay, thank you, David, for that. Yes, that's something that we're going to consider. I was actually going to speak to my producer about the time, but irrespective of that, the podcast is available. If you go to Star Radio UK on YouTube, or my YouTube channel, Bebe Clement, you can view past programs, or indeed on my website. There are some of them are on the website, and I update that from time to time. Okay, so thank you so much for the questions that have come in. Please keep bringing them in. If I can't answer them today, I will answer them next week. All right, now let's have a look at competitors. It's important that you see what your competitors are doing, and learn how to do it better. That's the important thing. Learn how to do it better. Now, again, I want to bust a myth. Whenever we think about competitors, we always think that in order to do better than our competitors, we must compete with them on price. In other words, if our competitor is offering this service at, let's say, £100 an hour, if I offer it at £70 an hour, that will drive more traffic my way. It's not true. It's not true. Even if your competitor is doing £100 an hour, if you want to double that fee, you can double it. It's all a matter of what I spoke about earlier. What value are you bringing that your competitor is not? What value are you bringing? In other words, what is your USP? What is it that you are doing that would make a potential client choose you rather than your competitor? That's what you need to be looking at. Also, don't be afraid to adopt your competitors' methodologies. There's nothing in law or in life that says you can't do that. Now, I'm not saying steal their intellectual property. That's not what I'm saying. If you do that, you would get yourself into trouble. And of course, I've spoken about integrity. But if your competitor is doing something great, and it's as a result of that they've got clients, then do the same thing. Do the same thing. Whatever is working, let it work for you. There's nothing wrong with that. Apple built their business on that. Steve Jobs says we have no hesitation dealing with things that our clients are doing, that our competitors are doing, and adapting it to Apple. That's part of what has made Apple the company that it is today. So don't let that bother you at all. Again, I spoke very briefly about finding your USP. For instance, I'm a speaker, but I don't just provide technical knowledge, which is what a lot of speakers do. They just provide the information. I don't do that. Not only do I provide the information, but I motivate. My thought is always to leave my clients better off than when I met them. That's always my thought whenever I go and speak somewhere. It doesn't matter what I'm speaking about, whether I'm speaking about leadership, whether I'm speaking about business, whether I'm speaking about marriage. It doesn't matter. I'm always thinking, how can I leave this person's life better than when I met them? That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about. Now, I'm going to quickly round up with this because the time is fast spent. But I think one of the things that you should do as a business is have a higher vision for your business. Don't be just about the money. Too many people are just about the money, and money comes and goes, and it's important, but it cannot be the be all or end all of your life or the be all or end all of your business. Have a higher vision or a higher purpose for your business. Now, for those of us who are of the faith, I'm a Christian, so I'm always thinking of how can I use this business? How can I surrender this business to God? And how can He use this business to touch the world with His love? That's always what I'm thinking. How can I change a life with my business? And it can be something as simple as calling up a client and asking them how business is going, and just being a sounding board and just wishing them a good day and hoping things that will get better, that kind of thing, and being of practical service in ways that are beyond the service that you normally give. Just going above and beyond. And let me tell you, companies who have built their business with this kind of mindset, they're not even necessarily of the faith, but they've built their business with this higher vision in mind, always stand the test of time. Always. So a company that always comes to mind is someone like Starbucks. Now, if you read Starbucks' vision, Starbucks says they always want to nurture the human spirit. They're not about selling coffee, they said. We are about nurturing the human spirit, one community, one person, one cup of coffee at a time. So what they're looking to do, and again, this has informed the kind of decor they have in Starbucks. Starbucks is not just a coffee place. The decor says to people who go in, come in, spend some time, chill, enjoy yourself, take the load off your feet, sit down and just live for a few minutes. That is the kind of message you get just by looking at the decor. And like I've said in the earlier program, that is why schools now take their children. I've seen schools take children to Starbucks and for library time or story time, and they're all sitting around in the corner in a coffee shop. What has a coffee shop got to do with education? In a coffee shop, and they're reading them a story. But that ethos of wanting to be more than a coffee shop, that ethos of wanting to nurture the human spirit has been caught by their customers. And so schools are now taking their kids to coffee shops, to Starbucks, and they're all sitting around, on bean bags, listening to stories. It's amazing. And such companies, if you go and look at the bottom line of such companies, they're all doing well financially, and they stand the test of time. Another such company is Coca-Cola. Look at the number of the amount of competition that Coca-Cola has had over the years, and yet they've been able to ward them off. Why? Because the vision behind Coca-Cola is not just about money. They said we were never about selling bicarbonated water. We're about celebrating moments of human happiness. Celebrating moments of human happiness, always being involved in moments that make people laugh and smile and are worthy of celebration. I have never been to a social function where there's no Coke. Never. You might not have other brands, but Coke, you'll have it. So again, they have achieved their aim. Why? Because they were not just about the money. They have a higher vision. So I would encourage you to do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for tuning in again today. It's been your girl, Bebe Clement. Just a couple of things before I go. One, tomorrow I have a seminar that's coming up, and it's how to start a small business successfully. It's £40 if you go to my website, www.bbclement.com. You can register for that. And for those of you who are listening in, I will do the reduced amount of £35. It's £40 for everybody else, but for those of you who are on the show, it will be £35. If you would please quote Star Radio as your code, then you can get the £5 discount. And the details of that will come up after the show. So that's coming up tomorrow, and I'm very excited, looking forward to that. So tell a friend to tell a friend. Those of you who are thinking about how to start a small business, thank you. That's there on your screen for you. Those of you who are thinking about how to start a small business, please come along to that. There'll be lots of information and tips and advice on that. Definitely worth your while. Tell others about it. And also next week, I'm going to be having a very special gentleman on the program. His name is Mr. Tunde Oguride. And this one will be for those of you who are in the diaspora but want to do business in Africa and you're scared because of the horror stories that you've heard. Some people have made a success of this, and he is definitely one who has made a huge success of this. I've been to his company in Nigeria, and I want him to come along on the show and let you know how he did it, so that you can do it as well. The world is a global village. We've got to do business all over the world, and I want to show you how to do it and do it right. So ladies and gentlemen, stay safe. Have a wonderful week. Go make some money. And remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature